Failure isn't always a bad thing. Now, I'm sure that I'm not the first person to tell you that failure isn't always a bad thing. However, listening to statements such as these is very easy, but going through such journeys are indeed difficult. Today, I'm going to share with you one such journey which includes failure and then which also includes eternal, everlasting success. Hey everyone, welcome to this video. I am CSK and I am your personal coach. Now, before I go forward, if you haven't watched the Brooklyn Bridge story, the story of realizing your dreams from your grave, stop this video right now and go back and watch that on my channel. Why? Because that story has a great connection to today's video. Now, with that being said, let's get started. And what I want to start with is that statement which is very, very easy to share with all of you. Failure isn't always a bad thing. Now, as I said before, it's one thing to say such profound statements, but a totally another thing to actually live through such statements and go through such failures. In today's story, let's call it as Fable's Fable. That's right. Why do I say that Fable's Fable? Because this story belongs to John Fable. Now, John Fable was an adventure enthusiast. He was always outdoor. He, in fact, thrived when he was outside. He loved trekking, sports, and every other kind of activity which gave him the adrenaline push. So, as a trekker, he always used to spend his free time, or rather, make time for trekking. And with that, what he did was he came into this lifestyle, which was that of a professional trekker. Now, John was not just only an adventure enthusiast, he was also a great, curious mind. Why do I say this? Because he had this habit of questioning everything, asking the dreaded word, why? And when he wanted to ask this question, he couldn't find answers. One of those questions which let him go onto a deep digging drive was, why do backpacks create so much of pressure and tension on their shoulders, on one's shoulders? He was trying to do all kind of hacks to avoid pain and marks on his shoulder after hours of grueling trek. What he did once was tied a waist wrap so that he thought if the weight gets transformed or translated to the hip, there will be less pressure on his shoulders. But that did not work. And why did it not work? As all of us know, that the weight inside the backpack leans towards the ground thanks to gravity, and that creates pressure on your shoulders. The answer to this problem John found on his trip to New York, to that very Brooklyn Bridge which I was talking about at the beginning. And when he was making a trip to New York, and when he went to the suspension bridge, he came up with a aha moment. And that was, he understood that the weight of the suspension bridge is indeed held by those two pillars which supports the bridge, and that rope or the chain which hangs across the bridge, like how you see in this photograph, is balanced so that the road is held straight. John immediately created a mental picture in his mind, and that was, he made his neck and his hip the two pillars which will take the weight of the backpack, and that curve for the backpack to come and get closer to his spinal cord. This way, he was able to divide the weight of the backpack equally so that there is no unnecessary tension on his shoulders. John was not just a curious mind, an adventure enthusiast, he also had a green thumb. Everything, when he was in nature, what was happening in his mind, or every activity which attracted him and every product which took his mind share, was all about eco-friendly, utilitarian products. So that's how John created a particular sensitivity towards keeping his innovation closer to nature. So he built a new backpack and he patented this entire technology as Biospan. In 1993, he even created a company by the name of Eco. Eco as a company name took shape. And then he went about building this product, and as I said, with a green thumb. What did he do? He created the whole backpack with more than 85% recyclable material. That means all the raw materials which he had used were almost 85% and above made of recyclable material. Not just that, he even had a mechanism to dismantle the backpack in less than 3 steps so that it gets dissolved without creating harm to Mother Earth. Now, this was John with all his innovation, and from innovation to incorporation. Now, when he created this company, he was on cloud 9. And as he created that company and went on with the technology of Biospan, he got everything together. What did he do? After 1993, he created a management team. He tied up with a manufacturer. He planned the entire marketing and also the USPs for his product. One of the key USPs, as we could have imagined and guessed by now, was its eco-friendly nature of the product. And that became his mainstay when it comes to communicating with customers. While he was doing all of this, he understood one challenge, and that was it was not easy to go for retail commercial sales as far as this product is concerned, because the USP of the product required him to educate his users. So he subscribed to the direct marketing channel. So he said no to the retail commercial channel and he said, I will go with the direct marketing channel. And that took him altogether on a totally different journey. It was hard, it was taxing, it was demanding, but he enjoyed every step of it because it was close to his heart and close to nature. And when he was doing all of this, the business plan went out of the window. It really did not make sense because it drained a lot of his personal resources and the money which he had raised. And finally, he did not have enough money to fulfill the orders he had in waiting. Now, finally, what he did was he tried to raise another round with his friends and family members, and somehow he succeeded. But when he succeeded, he thought he will change his plan. He said, okay, this is not working. I need to have more products in this line and cater to different people. But that very decision of expanding his product line put a pressure on the USP of the company. And because he had subscribed to the direct marketing channel, it was humanly impossible for him to direct market so many products to so many different customers. The economies of scale simply did not fall into place. Long story short, what happened next was a disaster. Because here, he realized that I need to switch quickly to the retail commercial channel, and that switch costed him dearly because it was too little, too late. And as I said, long story short, finally, John had to call off or shut down his entire adventure of this company because the problems began to multiply and he was not in a position to supply his customers timely, and his manufacturers were giving up on him because he was particular of keeping it eco-friendly. So this entire journey made John disappointed. He retired, but he knew well within himself that Biospan had more than what it could offer. So he did not give up in that context, but as a company, as a commercial establishment, it had to be shut down. Now, what happened next is he went back to picking up another job. He wanted to survive and pay his bills and try to look at what went wrong and what next. While he was doing all of this, there was light at the end of the tunnel. It took him good 6 to 12 months, but then eventually the light arrived. The biggest adventure equipment manufacturer of the United States, Mammoth. Mammoth came up to him and asked him to transfer the patent, the Biospan patent, to them because it went very well with their image of being an innovator. Not just that, they also signed up a deal with John Fabel, that we will give you the position of the head of our R&D department, and we will even create a whole set of products, a chain of products on the Biospan technology. And by doing that, John reclaimed his true space of being the driver in Biospan's journey. Now, when he went into that, the products began to make good penetration in the market. In fact, so much so that in a couple of years, they went on to be the most profit-making product range for this biggest conglomerate, Mammoth. Now, this is the story of John Fabel. John Fabel, from invention to incorporation to bankruptcy and then eventual success. That is why when I say failure isn't always a bad thing, there is still light at the end of the tunnel, and that's why failure isn't a bad thing. Now let's dissect this a bit. If John had given hope, if John had given up his hope on the fact that, okay, it's over, let me shut it off, and that fire inside his belly would have not told him that Biospan is not yet over, maybe for all of us, for you and me, Biospan would have been over long back. But it is because John believed in the fact that failure isn't always a bad thing. He took it up and then he went on and he created what he saw, and he gave Biospan its true worth and to the entire world. Now friends, there are two learnings from this entire journey. One, every single time we fail, something inside of us tells us it's not over. I want you to listen to that voice carefully. I want you to increase that voice to be louder and louder and stick on that, because it is not over. And only you will know it for sure. Nobody else will even listen to that voice, forget about accepting. So that's the first thing. And let me talk to you about that from my own personal experience. I came to Hyderabad in 2007. 2 years where I was embarking on a new adventure of establishing an international school in Hyderabad. Exactly after around 2 years, 2009, I was on the streets of Hyderabad, nearing in my own context, bankruptcy. Because that very school which I had built in these hands had kicked me out. That school shut its doors on my face. But I knew that my stay in Hyderabad is not over. Of course, the circumstances and my mentors, everybody supported me because they believed in me, even though they did not hear my voice, that it is not over. And when I made that voice louder, when I kept saying that it is not over, things really began to turn around. And today, after 12, 13 years, I'm still very much in Hyderabad and I'm able to establish schools across, not just one, but many more. So that's the first thing, that when you know that you have met with a failure, don't let that voice die away. Turn it up. Turn it up and keep saying that it is not over, and then look at the light at the end of the tunnel, for that light is coming. So the second thing is asking why. John started asking why at the beginning of his journey, and that's how he found an answer on the suspension bridge. From there on, he kept on asking why. I mean, right through his journey, look at it. When his company did well, he asked why. When his product range did not do well, he asked why. Even when the company had to shut down, he asked why. And because he asked, he got answers. Doors began to open up. So is the case with us. So the next time you feel that you have done enough and you have failed and you have tried to turn up the volume, don't just stop at that. Ask why. Because when you ask why, doors begin to open up. And that's the simple two-step process to actually come to the conclusion that failure isn't always a bad thing. So remember, one, you got to say to yourself that it is not over, because you know it that it is not over. And two, never stop asking why, because when you ask why, doors begin to open. So here's the story. As I said, John's fable, or John Fable's fable for you. Now, you want to know more about such stories? You know what to do. Subscribe to my channel, because I bring you 2 such stories every single week with deep life lessons. So subscribe to the channel and get those videos on every Tuesday and every Friday. Thank you very much for joining me today, and keep watching CSK Speaks.